where the fryers were located. The impact threw hot grease onto the two girls. Officials say the woman driving the van is in custody as they try to determine what exactly happened. A man is dead and a young boy in the hospital tonight after a small red car slammed into an 18-wheeler just outside of Conroe. It happened just before 9 last night. When troopers arrived, they found a red Subaru pinned under that 18-wheeler's trailer. Officials say the driver of the 18-wheeler was having issues with his brakes, and he did take proper precautions.
There was an 18-wheeler that had brake problems. Actually, the brakes locked up. He was stopped in the inside lane, got out, made sure that his emergency lights were activated, got back to the front of his truck. That's when a vehicle traveling northbound struck the trailer. There was one driver and an infant passenger.
Texas DPS says there were no skid marks on the road from that red car. No charges are being filed, but the investigation underway. And the vote is in. Just over an hour ago, SEC leaders meeting to vote on whether to allow Texas and OU into the conference. What do you know? All 14 universities voted yes to allow those schools to join. The next step is now for Texas and OU to formally accept an official invitation. We'll have more on this tonight at 6 and also 10. Our look at housing today focuses on some eye-catching dome homes that you may see on your way up to Dallas. As KRHD News investigator Dennis Turner shows us, the home's natural strength makes them a popular choice for safe rooms.
We put new floors in it, new carpet.
Toni and Lynn WAGLE moved to Waco to spend their retirement, moving between their new house in town and their ranch out by Mejia. The last thing they want is to deal with never-ending repairs.
It's a retirement house because we wanted small, low maintenance.
But perhaps the lowest of low-maintenance homes comes from Italy. Italy, Texas, that is, where Gary Clark builds structures known around the world.
Things are so energy efficient and they're needed. The other reason that we build them is because they're safe. There's not a building that we build that will ever burn because they're concrete.
And because he uses concrete, he can make them in unusual shapes, but all share one thing, their domed roof.
Because of the pandemic, I don't know exactly what all the triggers are, but Monolithic Constructors has never been busier.
According to the New York Times, at the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic, lots of people with means bought and installed disaster shelters to help them survive whatever came our way. Well, guess which structures meet FEMA guidelines for disaster shelters? So many, lots of schools use FEMA money to build new cafeterias or gyms as giant safe rooms.
We use an airform, a balloon. We inflate the balloon, and then we apply insulation to the inside, rebar, and then make it solid with concrete, and there you have it.
It sounds simple, but the process actually requires close supervision from engineers to make sure window and door forms get placed properly and concrete and insulation get applied to the specified thickness. These dome homes come by their strength naturally because in a dome, every piece rests upon every other piece equally. But just to be sure, these domes get reinforced with rebar. So you could say the secret's in the shape.
Nature's perfect shape, the egg, it really is. Anytime you push on it, all of the stresses tend to equalize.
And while they're practical, not everyone agrees they're beautiful. Take the Flintstone house outside San Francisco, where neighbors want a retired newspaper mogul to tear down the home she paid almost $3 million for. Perhaps that's why construction companies have only occasionally embraced the dome.
In the housing and construction industry, it takes a long time to get those wheels to change. There's not a code out there that we don't meet or exceed.
That's why schools here, and especially foreign governments, like the domes. Plus, with their energy efficiency, they can just about make up the cost of the building in energy savings in a dozen years or so. But since the WAGLEs moved from the coast, they hardly think about disaster shelters like they used to. So this is the right size for you for now.
Perfect, because we don't have to do much.
Clark points out, though, in a dome home like this one with, what else, a circular drive, she might have even less to do. In Italy, Dennis Turner, 25 News.
Let's check the newsfeed. LinkedIn is allowing its employees to decide on their own if they want to work from home permanently. The company created a hybrid work plan that allows workers to decide how often they want to come into the office, if at all. LinkedIn also says it does not have a specific return date. Google and Facebook will require employees to be vaccinated when they return to the office. Google hasn't said how it'll enforce the new policy. Facebook says it will develop a plan for people who cannot be vaccinated for certain reasons. Starting tomorrow, face masks will be required at Disney World for anyone 2 years or older while indoors, regardless of vaccination status. According to the CDC, the entire state of Florida is considered a hotspot.
You get on a plane full of people and some of them aren't very happy and you just never know what's going to happen.
The Association of Flight Attendants wants to make it easier for airline workers to get training to protect themselves against the increasing number of unruly passengers. It says airlines should pay their employees to take these classes, and the federal government should require flight crews attend each year.
We can have that muscle memory and be able to respond when someone is immediately attacking us.
The TSA reopened self-defense training late last month, but the agency says so far only a few hundred people have enrolled in the course. Now, we got an inside look at the first training course since they started up again, and they teach how to hit, elbow, even gouge aggressive passengers.
There's no backup at 30,000 feet. So that plane is in the air, that has a crew that has to deal with the issues, and it's incumbent on us to make sure they're fully equipped.
The most recent numbers from the FAA show there have been more than 3,600 reports of unruly passengers so far this year. More than 2,600 are reports of people refusing to wear a mask. Now, that mask requirement is currently in place until September 13th. The FAA has initiated more than 600 investigations this year into unruly behavior, which is the most in a year in decades.
The more people that know about this, the better, because it's helping a lot of people.
People suffering from PTSD are finding relief with a single shot in the neck. Doctors are working to make the treatment accessible to every American after it started gaining traction in the military. Amanda Brandeis takes a closer look into how it works.
Hey everybody, Chris here. Made it to the top of Mount Charleston today from the...
When Chris Jackomick enlisted in the Air Force, his why for joining was a work in progress.
The recruiter gave a nice good pitch and there I was, stayed at home during the summer and shipped off in September of 1999.
The start of a 20-year career.
There's the moment that you enlist or you get commissioned into the military, and then there's the moment that you actually join the military. Like it becomes weaved into the fabric of your soul.
But 2 decades of service caused wear and tear on his body and mind.
Military members will compartmentalize it because of the stigma of military members don't cry. Let's get the mission done. And I was one of them.
While he served in Afghanistan, much of his trauma was closer to home.
In 2017, my brother, a Marine himself, would die by suicide. And that really kind of wore the fabric out of it. This is the ascent for Adam. He would have loved climbing with me today here on his on the day that we lost him. But this is for him. It was go, 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 and it really wasn't a time to step back and test some of the mental anguish that I was going through, the trauma.
Within 6 months, he'd also lose 2 comrades to suicide.
I was really emotionless, and especially, towards my children sometimes.
Immense trauma can send our fight or flight response into constant overdrive, disrupting sleep, causing overwhelming panic, anger, chronic anxiety, nightmares, or flashbacks.
There's not a one-size-fits-all solution. You have to find what works for you.
While Jackomick self-medicated with alcohol, he sought help in the military.
One that really was a game changer for me was called the stellate ganglion block.
Also known as SGB treatment, Stella Center, one of the nation's largest providers, shared this video. Doctors inject local anesthesia near a nerve in the neck, resetting the fight-or-flight response.
The procedure itself helps to take away those symptoms and make a person able to function normally.
Dr. John House says it's been used for nearly 100 years to treat pain. Now a promising treatment for post-traumatic stress disorder, studies show 80% of patients find relief after 1 session.
This is not a cure-all. It does help quite a bit with a lot of people, and it has made it so that many people have been able to stop taking their medicines.
He's part of the Stella Center's network of doctors. With locations across the country, more than 50% of people are within driving distance to a treatment center.
It's something that really affects my community. For frontline healthcare workers and first responders, I found something that can help.
In real time, I actually felt like every muscle in my body just relaxed simultaneously.
Jacomick is in alcohol recovery and no longer takes medication for post-traumatic stress.
My mindset has changed. I live more in an empathetic area of gratitude.
And through the trauma, he found a why, creating an organization to support those who've lost loved ones to suicide.
If this unlocks something for somebody else and allows somebody to heal, then these words are absolutely worth it.
I'm Amanda Brandeis reporting.
Amanda, thank you. And insurance usually covers the injection for patients when it's treating pain, but doesn't usually cover the same procedure for when it's for PTSD. Now, out of pocket, the treatment costs between $1,000 to $3,000. Most people need one treatment. Stella Centers aren't the only ones offering this. Family physicians can help patients get connected with a medical professional who does this treatment.
And here's Chief Meteorologist Matt Hines. And taking a look at what we are seeing across the area, well, we do have some clouds and a couple of isolated showers and storms are trying to pop up here across the area. So we will continue to track that for you. But other than that, we are looking at partly cloudy skies, 95, and look at the feels like temperature. That dew point has spiked today into the mid 70s, so it feels like 108 degrees. Whew, it's hot. Winds out of the east-southeast at 8 miles per hour, and we will continue to see those hot and humid conditions across the area, but we are seeing a few of those isolated thunderstorms that are traveling across Brazos County, moving back toward Burleson County, and then up toward Cameron and Milam County as well, and a few more here east of I-45. So a little more than what we saw yesterday across the area, and a little thunder and lightning and maybe some gusty winds with some brief heavy rain in just a few locations. So we're seeing that move across our area right now. There's a higher concentration of rain down into the Gulf of Mexico. That will stay south of us. And as we check out your future track, again, isolated thunderstorms out there right now, but notice what happens by 10 o'clock. Lose the daytime heating, everything goes away. We move into Friday, and we may see a few more isolated showers and thunderstorms, about a 20% chance you'll get wet again on Friday. And then Saturday, probably going to stay dry around here with partly cloudy skies and just hot readings into the mid to upper 90s. And yeah, with that humidity, it's going to feel like well over 100 again. So tonight, temperatures into the mid to upper 70s, between 75 and 77 for most of us, pretty much where we have been. And then tomorrow, highs back into the middle 90s. But again, it'll feel like that it's going to be over 100 degrees, especially outside of any isolated thunderstorm activity. And looking at your forecast, temperatures into the mid to upper 90s Friday, Saturday into Sunday. Maybe a few isolated thunderstorms Friday and Sunday. Slightly better chances we move into Monday and Tuesday as a weak frontal boundary settles down into the area. Highs will be into the low to mid 90s with those scattered thunderstorms, and then we may continue with at least widely scattered to isolated storms for the rest of next week.
There are growing concerns about the drought and water supply in the West. This week, water levels at Lake Powell, the second largest reservoir in the country, hit a record low. Great Salt Lake also hit new historic lows in recent weeks, as well as Lake Mead, which is the nation's largest reservoir. Now, that has one town near Salt Lake City taking some pretty extreme measures. Oakley, Utah currently has a new moratorium on all new homes that would connect to the town's water supply. It's one of the first cities in the country to do this. Now, the city says it doesn't anticipate having additional water supply until next year, but this plan has its critics.
It's extremely common for people to say, you know, this is going to send a bad message that we don't have access to sufficient water supplies. It'll affect our economy.
Catherine Jacobs directs the University of Arizona's Climate Adaptation Research Center. Years ago, she helped build the program in the state that requires people in certain zones prove they have a 100-year water supply to build new homes.
Each state has really different water laws and very different physical access to water supplies. And so there is really no one-size-fits-all solution, but it is not a bad idea at all to be required to use renewable water supplies for new development.
She says Arizona's program has proven to be effective in incentivizing the use of renewable water supplies, but it's not as dramatic as the change in Oakley, Utah. Other places like California are trying less drastic measures, with the governor asking everyone to voluntarily cut their water use by 15%.
Some 13 million Americans across this country live in flood zones, be it by the ocean, a river, or just a small stream. I'm Chris Conti, and coming up tomorrow, we'll show you some big changes coming to FEMA's flood insurance program that could mean a drop in rates for homeowners.
Here's a look at some of the stories we're working on for KRHD News at 6 on this Thursday. We'll take a closer look at Texas A&M's decision to vote yes on welcoming Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC. How could that impact the local economy? Plus, a home builder with an unusual style is seeing his business boom. How it could help people struggling to find affordable housing right now. These stories and a whole lot more coming up on 25 News at 6. World News Tonight is just ahead, and we're back in 30 minutes. Until then.